Wow!
What if I told you that one of the world's most luxurious cheeses is covered in mold? And that this mold is not only edible, but essential to making it taste the way it does. Rich, creamy, earthy, unforgettable. While millions eat Brie every year, very few people know how it's truly made. Is the Brie we find at the store even close to the original French classic once eaten by kings and emperors? Today we're pulling back the rind to discover how the world's most famous Brie is made, from medieval monasteries to modern cheese factories, and along the way we'll answer a few burning questions. Why do some Bries melt on your tongue while others taste like bland butter? Why is real Brie banned in some countries? And just what is that snowy white coating doing? This isn't just a story about cheese. It's a story about craftsmanship versus convenience, and how tradition survives in a high-speed, pasteurized world, and why one humble wheel of cheese can represent centuries of history, culture, and controversy. So, what is Brie? Well, technically, Brie is a soft, ripened cow's milk cheese from the Brie region of France, just east of Paris. It has a creamy, pale interior and a white, bloomy rind made from Penicillium camemberti, a friendly fungus that gives Brie its signature flavor and texture. Brie is usually shaped into large, flat wheels and aged for just a few weeks. But during that time, something extraordinary happens inside. And yet, not all Brie is created equal. Some wheels are lovingly made by hand, using raw milk and ancient methods passed down for centuries. Others are mass-produced by machines and shipped to global supermarkets. So how did this cheese, once called the queen of cheeses, become a global icon? And what separates the bland from the brilliant? To find the answer, we need to go way back. Brie has been around since at least the 8th century. According to legend, Emperor Charlemagne tasted an early version at a French monastery and was instantly hooked. From that moment, it earned a spot on royal tables for centuries. But the real spotlight came in 1815. At the Congress of Vienna, while diplomats were redrawing the map of Europe, a side event stole the show. A cheese contest. Over 50 cheeses were tasted by European leaders, and the winner, Brie de Meaux. It was crowned the king of cheeses, and France rejoiced. Brie wasn't just food, it was national pride. But here's the strange part. Despite this regal reputation, many of us have never actually tasted true Brie. That's because traditional Brie made from raw milk and aged for just a few weeks is illegal in countries like the United States, where raw milk cheese must be aged for at least 60 days. By then, soft cheeses like Brie spoil. So what we get is a safer, milder, and pasteurized cousin. So now the question becomes, how is real Brie made? What happens behind the scenes that gives it such depth and complexity? And why can't factories replicate it perfectly? To understand what makes real Brie so special, we have to start with the milk. Traditional Brie is made from raw, unpasteurized cow's milk, usually from local herds in the Brie region. This milk carries unique bacteria and enzymes, which the French call terroir, the distinct taste of a region. Once collected, the milk is gently warmed, and then rennet is added, an enzyme that causes the milk to solidify into curd. Here's the first critical moment. Unlike other cheeses where curd is aggressively cut and stirred, Brie's curds are handled gently. Cheesemakers use a tool called the pelle à Brie, or Brie shovel, to ladle soft curds into large circular molds, slowly, layer by layer. No pressing is used. Instead, the curds drain under their own weight over 18 to 24 hours. They shrink, lose moisture, and take shape. Then comes the salting, carefully sprinkled on both sides, and the real transformation begins. This is when the magic happens. The cheese is moved into a warm, humid room, and within a few days, a delicate white fuzz begins to appear. That fuzz is Penicillium camemberti, the mold that forms Brie's iconic rind. And it doesn't just sit on the cheese, it transforms it. This mold breaks down proteins and fats inside the brie, softening the cheese from the outside in. At first, the center is chalky and firm, but over the next several weeks, the rind digests the cheese, turning it into a creamy, buttery center that oozes with flavor. This is the real brie experience. Not just cheese, but a living, aging organism that evolves day by day. So what's the catch? Why don't we see wheels of this beautifully ripe brie in every deli case? Because time, regulation, and global demand changed everything. To feed a worldwide appetite, brie had to evolve, and that's where industrial brie enters the scene. It's made fast, at scale, with pasteurized milk. The curds are molded by machines. Aging rooms are climate-controlled. Mold is sprayed on for uniformity. The result? A clean, consistent brie with a longer shelf life, but often less flavor. In fact, to survive shipping and refrigeration, many factory-made bries are what's called stabilized. They're built not to ripen fully. That creamy, oozing center, it never develops. That means the brie you buy in a supermarket may look right, but inside it's firm, bland, and unfinished. This leads us to another mystery. Why is the flavor of some bries so earthy, mushroomy, and deep, while others taste like slightly sour butter? Is it just the milk, or is something else at work? The answer lies in the rind and the living ecosystem that grows on it. Because that soft white rind is more than just edible, it's alive. The rind on a wheel of brie isn't just there for show, it's a biological marvel. The white mold, Penicillium camemberti, does two incredible things. It protects the cheese, and it completely changes its chemistry. On the surface, it forms a barrier that keeps harmful bacteria out while letting the cheese breathe. But below that fuzzy exterior, the mold produces enzymes that slowly break down the cheese from the outside inward. This is what causes the brie to ripen, soften, and develop those complex flavors: mushroom, garlic, truffle, even a hint of cabbage or ammonia when it's aged. And here's the twist. The rind changes the flavor of the whole cheese. If you've ever eaten brie without the rind, you might have noticed it tastes muted. But together, rind and paste create a full spectrum of flavor and texture: soft and firm, mild and earthy, delicate and bold. It's a carefully choreographed dance of fungus, fat, and time. This means every wheel of brie is unique, a living, changing thing. In France, brie is often sold when it's almost liquid in the center. You cut into it, and the inside slowly oozes out like lava. But this ripe brie is extremely fragile. Ship it too far or store it too long, and it spoils. That's why most export brie is stabilized, designed not to ripen fully. It stays firm, safe, but it also never reaches that rich, runny perfection. So here's a wild thought. Millions of people around the world have eaten brie but have never tasted a truly ripe one. The flavor they imagine, it's just a shadow of what brie can be. And yet brie's popularity hasn't dimmed. It's one of the most exported cheeses from France. Global dairy giants produce thousands of tons every year. In America, it's a holiday staple. In Australia, it's a picnic royalty. In Japan, it's a luxury import. But back in France, brie is still treated like a treasure. But there's a problem. The traditional way of making brie is dying out. Only one farm in France still makes true Brie de Meaux Fermier farmhouse brie from milk produced on the same land. Just one. As demand for consistency and speed grows, artisan brie becomes rarer, harder to find, and harder to afford. So what does that mean for the future of brie? Is the real thing disappearing, or is there a way to bring it back? Let's connect the dots. Brie's story isn't just about cheese. It's about what happens when tradition meets modern demand. On one side, you have centuries of careful craft. Raw milk, gentle ladling, wild mold, and a ripening process that can't be rushed. On the other hand, you have speed, safety, scalability, and often sacrifice. So, when you cut into a wedge of Brie, what are you tasting? If it's soft, earthy, and just a little bit funky, you're getting closer to the real deal. If it's clean and firm, you're eating a version optimized for shipping and shelf life, not for bold flavor. But here's the thing, neither version is wrong. Industrial Brie makes this iconic cheese accessible to millions. It introduces new people to its texture and mildness. And that curiosity can lead them to explore deeper, to taste a traditional Brie, maybe for the first time, and have that moment where they say, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to taste like." That moment, that transformation, is what this story is really about. Rediscovering depth in an age of convenience. Remembering that the best things often take time. That a soft white cheese with a living rind can hold within it 1,000 years of flavor, culture, and care. So next time you see a wedge of Brie, ask yourself, is this the king of cheeses or just a stand-in for the throne? If this video sparked your curiosity, join us and stretch that curiosity even further. The next deep dive might just surprise you even more. Here at Dairy Decoded, we don't just melt cheese, we melt minds with delicious stories from the world of dairy, farming, and food culture. Your support helps us to keep exploring and uncovering the hidden side of what we eat. So don't be shy. Hit that subscribe button and age like a fine cheese. Thank you for watching.